Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 2:45, and thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for doing this with me. So, my name is Patience Kagoza. I am a fourth year student at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. I am studying human resources management, and today I will be conducting a mini COVID-19 workshop for my human resources development module. So, first of all, what topics are we going to cover during this workshop? I will be covering what is COVID 19, the stages and symptoms of COVID 19 infections, the main types of COVID 19 transmission in South Africa, ways in which you can prevent the transmission of COVID 19, what to do if you are infected with COVID 19, and the treatments that have been made available by scientists for COVID 19 treatments. So let us get into it. The course outcomes that I'm hoping to achieve by the end of this mini workshop is that you'll be able to understand what is COVID 19 and the definition of the virus and where it originated from. I would like you to be aware of the stages and symptoms that you can experience should you test positive for the virus. I would like you to understand and be able to name the types of COVID 19 transmissions so that you are able to recognize them should you be faced with that scenario or case. I'd also like you to know the ways in which you can prevent transmitting this virus. I would like you to have a clear understanding of what to do if you do test positive for this virus, and also be aware of the different COVID 19 treatments that can be administered for patients who test positive for COVID 19. Before I begin with the first lesson, I would like to just confirm that everyone is here and comfortable. So if you do not mind for me, you can switch on your camera or you can just give me a shout out to say hello. I am here.
Hey, I'm here.
Thank you very much.
Hey,
Hi,
I'm
hi
here.
everyone. I'm also here.
Hello, hello. Thank you very much, Miss Ginya. Nice having you here, and you too, Miss Ntatiso. So I will dive back right into it. So the first lesson that we are going to be learning about is what is COVID-19 and where this virus originated from. So, coronavirus or COVID 19 is a disease that is caused by the SARS-CoV-2, which is a severe acute respiratory illness or virus that was discovered back in December 2019 in the city of Wuhan in China. I'm sure you've all wondered why we call it COVID 19. What's up with the number 19? So, COVID 19 is derived from the name the novel coronavirus discovered in 2019, hence the number 19. The virus is believed to have come from a species of horseshoe bats, and it's transmitted from the bats through hosts or a human carrier. The first cases of COVID-19 was actually discovered in a meat market in the city of Wuhan, China. However, when investigators did indeed investigate to find out if this virus originated from animals, they could not find any traces of the virus in the meat carcasses that were there. Therefore, for now, it is still an assumption that COVID 19 is transmitted from the bats, specifically animals, to humans. So, just a little illustration. This is the beautiful city of Wuhan, China. As you can see on the first picture, it is indeed beautiful. The two pictures are an illustration of the meat market that is indeed believed to have been the patient zero. Normally they call it patient zero. So this is the market that is believed to have the patient zero of the COVID-19 and its symptoms. So, with COVID 19 and the virus having been with us for at least 3 years almost, there have been beliefs and conspiracies about the virus because not everyone believes that this virus is genuine or it is an outbreak, but they do believe that it is man made and there's a ploy or a twist behind this virus. The first one is that it has to do with 5G network, and somehow 5G network has caused a heavy flu on the entire globe. Some people believe that it is indeed a hoax and that COVID-19 does not exist. However, personally, if I have to comment, I'd say that COVID-19 is real, considering that about 6.3 million people have died, and these are real statistics worldwide. And yes, we should take the virus serious. Other people that believe that COVID-19 is an experiment for new medication that can be administered. And lastly, people believe that this was indeed a ploy by pharmaceutical companies to boost medications, to boost sales, since the industry was not doing great. However, I also disagree with that because every year, day in, day out, we do walk into pharmacies to purchase medication, whether it's a headache, whether it's a mild pain. It's just the way we live. So it is optional to believe, to have these beliefs and conspiracies, and it is definitely your opinion to believe whether COVID-19 is real or not. And while we are still on that topic, quick question. How many of you believe that COVID-19 is genuine, and how many believe that it is a hoax or conspiracy? Just a yes or no, or just an indication. Okay. I see Liabona has a hand up. So are you saying it is a hoax? Is it a conspiracy, or it's genuine? Same with Lerato.
I personally believe and think that it is indeed genuine. I believe it is genuine.
Okay. And Lerato?
Yeah, definitely the same thing. It's genuine, it's out there, it's happening.
Awesome. It really is out there and it is happening. Okay, so moving on with this, the second lesson that I am administering is the stages and symptoms of COVID-19 infection. So, symptoms of COVID-19. Symptoms do vary from one person to the next because our immune systems are different. Therefore, they react to situations, viruses, and infections differently. There are two types of people or two types of patients. There are asymptomatic patients and they are symptomatic patients. So an asymptomatic patient is someone who is going to test positive for the virus, but they will not experience or go through or display any of the COVID-19 symptoms. So you wouldn't know that this person has COVID-19 because you do not see the symptoms. However, they are indeed COVID-19. Personally, I would say these are the deadly ones because you're likely to be infected by them without even knowing. The second patient is the symptomatic patient, and this is someone who does indeed test positive for COVID-19, and they will display some, if not all, the symptoms of COVID-19 virus. So there are three stages to the COVID-19 infection. The first stage is the incubation period. So this is the period whereby you contract the disease and or the virus. And once you are aware that you have contracted COVID-19, you then isolate yourself or put yourself into quarantine to ensure that you do not spread the viruses to your family, your close relatives, or someone that you're likely to come across with in public transport or wherever you are. The second stage or period is the acute COVID-19 period. This is the period whereby you are experiencing all the symptoms of COVID-19 or some of them. These can be a heavy flu, a cough, you are going through chills. It's hitting you hard. You are very symptomatic. The last stage would be the recovery stage. This is after you've gone into isolation, you've been incubated, you were in quarantine for about 10 to 14 days, and now you are recovering, but you still have some or a lingering COVID-19 symptoms. So you still maybe have a mild cough, a little bit of a sore throat, or you're still feeling a bit of a running nose. However, this you are recovering because you are now negative for the virus. During the recovery stage, unfortunately, for some patients who have tested positive for COVID-19, they did testify that they have experienced a loss of taste and a loss of smell, and this can go on for at least a couple of months before your life goes back to normal. I believe it's very unfortunate to these people, but this is what the virus is doing to us. So I did mention that there are some COVID-19 symptoms, pardon me, that you can go through if you are a symptomatic patient. Some of them include a fever or chills, a strong cough, fatigue, muscle ache, headaches, a sore throat, runny nose, nausea and vomiting, or diarrhea. However, I did mention that you do not necessarily experience all these symptoms, but maybe some of them. There are some patients who have been or who have gone through severe COVID-19 symptoms, and these would include difficulty in breathing, persistent chest pains, you are very fatigued, and you have pinkish skin. It is advised that should you be experiencing any of these symptoms, rather go to an ER emergency room or call your doctor and be monitored by health professionals, because then you could be one of the patients who are in serious need of medical attention. So before we continue, just to make sure that you guys are quick on your feet and you are sharp during this presentation, can someone tell me what a severe COVID-19 patient would experience in terms of their symptoms? Anyone? Lerato, I see you have your hand up.
A very common one that I've been coming across is a shortness in breath, and where just people have really, really bad chest pains. That's the one I've been noticing from people who have had the virus and have tested negative after.
Okay, all right, that is true. That is true. Anyone else before I move on?
Yeah, another common one is fatigue and maybe like sore body. I think that's also now becoming quite common in the recent few months now.
Yes, yes, true. That is true. Leona, I see your hand up. Did you want to say something?
Yes, I wanted to say something. Individuals also have a hard time staying awake when they have COVID-19, and they also have sudden confusion.
Yes, yes, that is one of the symptoms. Thank you very much. So, moving on, the main types of COVID-19 transmissions that we find in South Africa specifically. So, the main types of COVID-19 transmissions, this is in South Africa and worldwide actually, it's a transmission from person to person. And there are several transmissions that can happen, and this can be in a form of droplets. So, this is transmission whereby someone who is infected with the COVID-19 coughs, sneeze, or talks, and droplets of their saliva or mucus is carried into the air from their nose or their mouth. And if you are within 6 feet of these people, you are likely to breathe in these droplets from the air and potentially infecting yourself with COVID-19. This is if you are not wearing a mask, because your mask is your protective shield from getting COVID-19. The second one is airborne transmissions. Although scientists have proven that COVID-19 is not necessarily transmitted through the air or through airborne transmissions, research has shown that the virus can live into the air for up to 3 hours. Therefore, chances of you actually breathing it into your lungs and getting infected is still high through airborne transmission. The last one is the less common form of transmission. However, I would also say this is the most deadliest, because we don't see it coming, but it just happens. And this is the surface transmission. So this is when a person who maybe coughs or sneezes on a surface, and that surface is not sanitized, and then there you are entering a taxi, you are touching the seats, you're entering a bus, you're touching the handles, and you just use your hands without sanitizing them or washing them. Whatever virus that has come from the seat to your hands, you're most likely to put it on your mouth, your nose, or your eyes, therefore infecting yourself with the virus. So it is always advised to constantly wash your hands, constantly sanitize with an alcohol-based sanitizer in order to ensure that your hands are clean for whatever you are doing. So this is just an illustration of how COVID-19 is transmitted, as I've mentioned. So this little picture will show you the airborne transmission, or the air droplets that are traveling. This person coughed, they did not really protect their mouths, therefore it went on a surface and it traveled in the air, and the person is breathing in the virus. Same here, the person touches the virus or the droplets enters into their lungs and they are infected with the virus. So before we move on, this was my third lesson. Is there any questions that you'd like to ask me? I am happy to answer them before we move on.
No, thank you. I have no questions on my side.
Perfect. Anyone else? Are we all good? I see we have a new participant. Thank you very much for joining. Are we
No
all
questions from me, none from me, thanks.
okay? All right, perfect. So I will be moving on. All right. Okay, so how can you prevent yourself from contracting COVID-19? I've mentioned all the ways that this virus can be transmitted, but how can you prevent yourself from contracting the virus? So here are some ways that you can use to protect yourself from contracting the virus. You can do this by maintaining a safe distance of at least 1 meter from other people, especially when you're in highly populated areas. It is very much advised to distance yourself or have a bit of social distancing, whether you are sitting down or standing. Always space up your chairs or at least talk to someone with at least a meter away from you. Always wear a face mask in public. This should be the number one rule. Wherever you go, wear a face mask, especially in places where there's little ventilation or there's no ventilation at all, as well as areas that have little or no social distancing, pardon me. Places with no social distancing, then it is very much advised that you wear your mask. If you are feeling unwell or if you're feeling a bit of sickness or symptoms of COVID-19, it is advised that you stay home. This is to prevent you from transmitting the virus or whatever you may have to other people. It's better to be safe than sorry. Therefore, if you stay home, you prevent yourself from transmitting the virus or potentially catching the virus, because whenever you are feeling unwell, it takes a slight dip to you remember I mentioned your immune system and you needed to fight viruses. So you staying at home protects you and other people. Avoid gathering with a lot of people. I know in South Africa, we do like gatherings a lot. This is like culture to us. But because of COVID-19, it is advised that you avoid gathering with a lot of people because you don't want to catch the virus. Choose open and well ventilated spaces so that there is at least air moving around and that we're not all breathing the same air that's not going out but just coming in, coming in. Constantly wash your hands, make use of soap and water, and use an alcohol based sanitizer. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneezed or sneeze. I did mention that if you are experiencing any COVID-19 symptoms, such as a cough, a fever, or difficulty in breathing, protect everyone by staying at home, but also protect everyone by just seeking medical attention to make sure that you don't think you have coronavirus, but to be sure that you don't have the virus. So this is again an illustration of how you can prevent COVID-19. Here is washing your hands, avoid touching. This is keeping your distance, avoid gathering in spaces with a lot of people. I have mentioned that you can contract this disease with public transportation, such as buses, because you are touching surfaces. And this is wearing a mask and staying at home. And these are some illustrations as well. I'll be happy to send this to you as well after this presentation so that you always know what to do. So the next lesson is what to do if you are indeed infected with the virus. So oftentimes you realize that when people test positive for the virus, they panic and they start assuming the worst. And I think this is with good reason, because I did mention at the beginning of the slideshow that about 6.3 million people have died globally due to the virus. So when you are infected, you do tend to overthink and you do tend to panic. However, experts, or researchers have proven that because you are panicking or because you are stressed, you tend to put a strain on the type of virus that you have. Therefore, your symptoms are likely to get worse than they are likely to get better. So the first thing to do or to tell yourself would be to at least calm down and then take the necessary precautions that you need to do to make sure that you're okay. So the first one would be to self-isolate. Stay in your house, stay in your room, away from your friends or family that you're likely to transmit the virus on for at least 10 to 14 days. Refrain from going to work or going out. I think this is a personal favorite for everyone else. Am I right? Can I just get a yes or no? Because you don't have to go to work when you are sick, especially
Yes,
with
yes,
COVID-19.
definitely.
I figured that one would be your best one. But yes, you have to stay home, avoid going to work, call your boss, email them, tell them I cannot do this today. So, and the next one will be during quarantine. It is important to keep an eye on your symptoms. I did mention that some symptoms can become severe. Therefore, always keep an eye, make sure that you are getting better instead of worse. If you do get worse, seek medical attention. Those who are living on their own can make use of online delivery services so that you prevent yourself from transmitting the virus and you protect others from contracting it from you. Those who share accommodation, I know most of us are students, therefore we have hostels or we have university residences where we have common kitchens, bathrooms, and living room areas. Therefore, it is advised that you stay in your room or your dome and only leave when it's necessary and always wear a mask. The last one would be we all do laundry together, especially in common areas as well. So when you are doing laundry, always wash your clothes with the highest temperature to make sure that you do kill the germs and that they don't spread anywhere else. Before I continue, I think there are some guides that I've missed for when you test positive. Is there anyone who would like to share any of these guidelines as well that you can use when you test positive for COVID? Anyone? Any guideline that you feel like a person should follow when they test positive for the virus? Yes, Miss Ginya?
I think one of the guidelines is maybe for the participants, the persons to at least notify other people maybe they had contact with and then tell them that no, maybe I'm currently tested positive so that they could also be able to look out for symptoms on their side and also maybe isolate if needs be.
Yes, yes. So the government actually calls this contact tracing. This is to take steps back. You know, when you're tracing, you take steps back to see what or who have you been in contact with. You're most likely not to be able to trace everyone because, I mean, we walk in the public every day, but mostly your friends and your family that you know, I've been with them in the last 24 to 48 hours and they're likely to be infected. So you have to also notify them that I did test positive for COVID-19. Please at least quarantine yourself for 24 hours just to make sure that you are not showing symptoms of the virus. Ms. Ntatiso, yes?
Hi. Personally, I feel that I agree with everything that you've mentioned. Um, and from experience, I didn't really test positive for COVID, but someone I know and was in close contact with was COVID positive, and then I felt sick, but I just had the flu. I guess I got that end of COVID, but I believe that it's very important that not just taking care of ourselves because we have to, but making sure that literally each and everything that we do during this period is to heal ourselves. So taking care of yourself mentally, like because like you mentioned, that if you stress about it and it makes your symptoms worse. So if you take care of yourself mentally and you take care of yourself, like maybe doing exercises, because I mean you're not. I'm trying to find a less rude word, but you're not disabled in a way when you have COVID. So take care of yourself in terms of exercising, breathing, meditating, so that you don't make something that is already a problem much, much worse. And I think we sometimes underestimate the effort that goes into taking care of oneself compared to the effort we put in taking care of other people. So yeah, thanks.
Yes, true. I agree with that. I 100% agree with that. Anyone else before I move on? Okay, awesome. So I will continue. All right. Okay, cool. So we have done this and questions before I move on, or are we all familiar with ways to prevent ourselves? Okay, all right, perfect. I do apologize for that. I think I have, okay.
I think it was slide 21 that you were on.
Slide 21. Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so the next one or the last one that I would like to go through would be the treatments for COVID-19. As we all are aware, or as we all know, there is no cure for COVID-19. So when you have the virus, at first, I think the entire world was scared when you get corona in 2020 because there was no cure. So I'm sure everyone was thinking, I'm on the verge of death. But as time went by, they actually realized that when you get corona, you don't necessarily die from it, but you can actually treat it and get better and eventually test negative for the virus. So, since the pandemic was declared in 2020, almost 3 years ago, scientists have been trying to develop a cure to eradicate this disease. However, they have not yet made progress in terms of having a solid cure. However, they have made vaccines in order to help us fight this virus should we contract it. And there are four types of vaccines that have been developed to fight COVID-19. The first one is the viral vector. This was interesting information actually, because we all got vaccinated. I'm sure most of us, if not all of us, got vaccinated here, but we did not really know what these vaccinations are all about. Before I actually proceed, how many of us are vaccinated here? Everyone? Okay, Leah is vaccinated. I'm vaccinated, by the way. Leona is vaccinated. Awesome. So I see. I think everyone in this workshop has been vaccinated, and I'd like to commend you for that, guys, because that means you are taking this pandemic serious. So the first one is the viral vector, and this is a type of vaccine that uses harmless viruses actually, and it is altered parts of the COVID-19 virus. They take the genetic makeup of the virus and use it to actually create this vaccine. And this is the type of vaccine that you get from Johnson and Johnson or the Oxford AstraZeneca. And this vaccine is administered in 2 doses. At first, Johnson and Johnson were using 1 doses, but they realized that they actually need a booster shot in order to make it effective. Therefore, it is administered now in 2 full force doses. The next one is the RNA ribonucleic acid vaccine. So this is the vaccine that contains a synthetic version or part of the COVID-19 genetic makeup. So they actually take part of the virus and then use it to create a vaccine. And this is the type of vaccine they call Pfizer or Moderna. I personally got Pfizer when I got vaccinated, and the Pfizer injection is administered in 2 doses, and it's about 40 days apart from the first dose to the second dose. And the third one is the whole virus. So, this is the type of vaccine that contains an inactive version of COVID-19 or a piece of COVID-19 that is not active, so it's dead. However, they use it to actually develop this vaccine, and the pharmaceutical name for this is the Medical Incorporate or the Sinovixim, and it's also administered in 2 doses to make sure that it's fully effective and it does work. Did someone nudge me? I just got a notification. Did anyone nudge me? Someone wanted something?
No, I just got the same notification. I think it's for Leah's presentation. It's a
Oh,
reminder.
oh, okay, okay. Oh, good. So I'll continue. So the last one is the protein subunit. This is the vaccine that uses pieces of the COVID-19 virus in order to develop the vaccine. And the pharmaceutical name for this vaccine is the Novavax. The Novavax does actually come from the novel coronavirus, and it is developed by the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and it is also administered in 2 doses. In South Africa, or mainly Africa, we have been provided by the World Health Organization and the American government, the Johnson and Johnson vaccine and the Pfizer vaccine. So those are the two vaccines that we have in South Africa. However, other people have opted for other vaccines and they have waited for them to actually come in the country before they are vaccinated. That's just a fun fact. And then other COVID-19 treatments that they use. Remember, I told you there's no cure. However, there are treatments. So these vaccines are actually pre-COVID-19 treatments in order to help you fight the virus should you contract it. However, some of the treatments that they use are actually over-the-counter medicines. And the most common one that you actually have in South Africa is the med lemon. Everyone loves the med lemon. And as COVID-19 is a flu, this can actually help you fight off the virus because the med lemon is a medicine for headaches, pain, fever, and colds and flu. Other one would obviously include your allergics should you be coughing or sneezing. Corenza, this is also for your flu. Some of them have nasal sprays for when you have allergies. It's the same one that you take when you're sneezing. Some of them is the Vicks in Africa. I think every African does this. We actually rub Vicks on our chests when this is actually used when you're experiencing difficulty in breathing. And the others include Panado. I think it's the most common one that we use for headaches. And so, yes, some of the treatments for corona is your over-the-counter medicine that you use to treat a normal flu, and you use it to treat the coronavirus. Scientists have actually mentioned that eventually the coronavirus is going to become a seasonal virus, something like a flu. So at some point, God forbid, but I'm just saying at some point, it has been said that we are most likely to get coronavirus as it will be a seasonal flu. It will be added to the seasonal flus. So that brings us to the end of our PowerPoint or our workshop. I did mention that I'll only be doing 6 aspects, or I'll be covering 6 topics, and these are them. So just to make sure that everyone was sharp and listening, it's quiz time. Exciting times. Can I get a yay for the quiz? Come on, guys. It's a quiz.
Yeah.
Yay.
Pop quiz. No one likes this, but yes. So, um, how can we do this? Okay, so I'm going to be sharing the questions, and then there'll be options, and then you can just tell me what's the correct answer, and then I'll tick it. And I'll also be sending you this quiz just in case you'd like to go over it to make sure that you are sharp and you have the knowledge that you've learned from this workshop and you're able to answer them on your daily lives or wherever you are. So this is the quiz. The first one asks, so anyone can turn on their mic and then they can just comment. The first question asks, which country was the first case of coronavirus reported from? There's Germany, France, China, and Kenya.
China.
China, that is correct. So which year was the virus first discovered?
2019.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
Which organ does the virus attack? Your stomach, your lungs, or your ears? Organ? Are we all alive?
It attacks the lungs.
Lungs. That is correct. How is COVID-19 contracted? On surface areas, droplets of saliva, or is it airborne? Avumile, I see you have your hand up. Comments, guys. How is COVID-19 contracted? I see Leona and Avumile, you have your hands up. Your mics are off. I'm not sure if you're aware, but your mics are off. can just switch them on if you want to comment.
It is transmitted through all of the above, all the mentioned.
That is correct. All of
Yeah.
the above: surface areas, droplets of saliva, and it is airborne. So, what are the various ways to prevent the transmission of COVID-19? So, it's not wearing your mask, sanitizing your hands, not washing your hands. Which one is it, guys?
Can you please repeat?
What are the various ways to prevent the transmission of COVID-19? Not wearing your mask, sanitizing your hand, not washing your hands.
It will be sanitizing your hands.
Awesome, awesome. That is correct. How many seconds should you wash your hands to make sure that your hands are virus clean or they're clean from the bacteria? So there are 5 seconds, there are 20 seconds, and there are 30 seconds.
For at least 20 seconds.
Perfect. Number 7, which one of these variants are COVID-19 related? This is general knowledge, so you can just tell me which one is COVID-19 related. There's the Alpha variant, the Bravo variant, the Charlie variant, or the Delta variant. Variants of COVID-19, anyone?
Delta.
Delta, that is correct. But here's something as well. If we're all listening, there's another variant that we actually did not know, and it's the Alpha variant. Alpha is also a variant of COVID-19. So it would be the Alpha and the Delta. Is there a cure for COVID-19?
No, there isn't a cure for COVID-19.
Okay. All right. And what are the treatments that are available to fight off the virus? So this is an open question. You can just tell me what are the treatments that are available to fight off the virus?
Med lemon stone.
Yes, med lemon is one of the medications that you can use. Anyone else? No, Avumile, we can't hear you. Your mic is off. Your mic is off. You need to switch on your mic. Okay, so we have med lemon. Med lemon is one of the treatments for COVID-19. Anything else?
Drinking ginger, steaming, and yeah, I think cough syrup also helps. Not sure,
Cough
but I think
syrup.
it does.
Okay, so that would be over-the-counter medications that can help you with a cough when you have COVID-19. So yes, I will take that. And what does incubation or quarantine period mean to you? When you hear the word incubation or quarantine, what comes to mind first?
Stay away from people.
Sorry?
For me, it's staying away from people.
Staying
Yeah.
away from people?
Yes, definitely.
Uh-huh. Definitely, yes. So when they say quarantine, stay away from people,
Stay
guys.
away from people.
To that, I fully agree with that. Anyone else? Quarantine, incubation. I'm sure we've been hearing quarantine since 2020. Okay, so I'll take.
Um,
Mhm.
I have a question. What's the difference between quarantine and isolation? I'm just trying to understand.
So quarantine and isolation is just the same, but now you'd have to ask yourself, what is the isolation about, or why are you in quarantine? Because some people go into isolation for the fact that they've been in contact with someone who tested positive. So they're isolating just to make sure that they don't have the virus. And then if they do, they don't spread it to someone else. And quarantine is almost like your lockdown. You have COVID-19, therefore you have to stay home. There's no two-way about it. You're not going anywhere, staying away from people. So I think that's how I would characterize the two. So quarantine would be you have the COVID-19 virus, therefore you have to um, quarantine yourself, and self-isolation then would be that you are isolating yourself just because you might have been in contact with someone who's infected with the virus. But I'm happy to have anyone else give their own opinion.
No, I agree.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, I think Avumile is just having a problem with his mic as well. I apologize for that. Okay, so last two questions. The first one would be, which organization is involved in keeping the world safe by promoting health and serving the vulnerable? I did mention this organization. So is it the World Protein Organization, the World Health Organization, or the Health and Safety Organization?
One, second one.
Second one, World Health Organization. That is correct. And then the last one. This is the last question of the pop quiz. What does CDC stand for? Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Creative Directive Centers, or Creative Design Centers?
The first one.
Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. That is correct. So here's a fun fact. The CDC is the first department or the first center that is notified when an outbreak happens, because that means that they have to investigate what is happening. So when the pandemic actually started, after they found patient zero, the CDC was notified that we have an outbreak, we are having a pandemic, this is what's going on. And they were then in charge of investigating the virus or COVID-19 or what is happening. And they are involved as well in the overall processes of making sure that vaccines are administered or making sure that the correct vaccines are actually created for people to take. So, my lovely people, this brings us to the end of our workshop. Thank you very much for attending, and thank you very much for participating. I know I took almost an hour of your afternoon, and I very much appreciate it. I do hope that you have learned something and that you have taken away something from this mini COVID-19 workshop, and that you'll be able to apply it, whether it's about preventing yourself from contracting COVID-19, preventing others from spreading the virus, or just in general knowing what COVID-19 is, because we can live in the world for 5 years and not know what is going on. But I was happy to actually share this information with you. Before I close or before we end this, does anyone want to comment? Anyone want to say anything? All right, perfect. You're welcome, Lerato, and thank you very much. Thank you very much for your participation. I really appreciate it. So this brings us to the end. Again, thank you very much, and please do enjoy the rest of your day.